that up. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen. No, you shut the fuck up. Ladies and gentlemen, in the top right corner of Neoplanet S, we have, playing for StarCraft Ascension, the blue Protoss player. It is SCAVirium.
And in the bottom left, a purple Protoss player from a purple Protoss player from a recent clan war. We think it is from FXOKarmy.
The plum purple Protoss player.
Did you
Perpetually playing with his probes.
sold seashells on the seashore?
Yeah. Red leather,
right.
yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. But okay, guys, trolling aside, PvP, this is kind of a matchup that I am very excited for. There's not a lot of matchups where I'm like, oh boy, that's a mirror matchup I can't wait to see, but I find Protoss versus Protoss tends to be the most dynamic. Terran versus Terran, a very close second for me, and of course, Zerg versus Zerg. You know, I had enough of that with Wings of Liberty. I'm just done with Zerg versus Zerg, man.
Just holding old grudges, I see.
Just a little bit, but I want to point out something that's already started very distinctly different for both these players, and that is the start of the Sim City. Now, what Karmy has actually done by placing his gateway where he starts limiting surface area. So let's say Virium had gone crazy and did like some sort of 2-gate proxy. Suddenly, Karmy can start doing things like position the Zealots on hold position between the mineral lines, putting a pylon here to limit the advantage of having the extra Zealots on the field. So this isn't game-changing, but this is some very forward-thinking and precautionary moves that it doesn't cost them a single thing to do.
Right, and that's an excellent point to bring up, because on average, you will see more of a SimCity similar to Virium's, actually, is what's more likely, but you can see that Karmy is the type of player to sit down and think about his building placement in SimCity. But also, Virium changed things up by going double gas. He decided to delay it a little bit, get out the extra probes, and then throw down 2 gases together.
As long as you have 2 gases before the cyber core is finished, you'll have enough to have the warp tech and the mothership core going at the same time.
Right.
So I mean, we see him with 2 and 2 on gas because he went for it earlier. Karmy's going to be 3 on 3 to make up that difference. It's actually something that was pointed out to me a little while ago. Like, it never occurred to me that Protoss are the only race, by the way, that control their gas count to a very specific amount. No other race, no other mirror matchup, well, any matchup really, concerns themselves as heavily with gas in the early game as Protoss do.
The one exception I would say to what you brought up, not to steal your thunder, but just something that I do, is when Flash was opening in TVP, now, Protoss matchup, but with the Terran player, so excuse me for a bit to all the Protoss players out there. He would actually pull guys off of gas after getting 100 gas, because he would go Reaper and then Reactor, and it would provide him enough minerals to throw down an engineering bay at his opponent's natural while getting up his own command center at a normal timing.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with that, but what I was just saying was, like, it's the only matchup where you consistently will see. Sometimes like, if you do 2 on 1, 3 on the other, that means Stargate. You know, 2 on 2 means Forge Fast Expand, or sorry, not Forge, Gateway Expand. I mean, it's...
Okay, to that level.
That's
okay.
what I was talking about before, but yeah. Dude, I can't tell you. Being a Terran player, by the way, Terran player at heart, guys. Here, you see players like Flash do exactly that, where it's like it's kind of like watching Zerg go for the Zergling all in, where they go 100 gas, pull off immediately once they hit 100. So I mean, gas control can be everything in this game, but more importantly, it also provides a topic for casters to talk about while they wait for the game to set up.
Yeah, and we do see as we said, the game is getting set up here. Let's look at the setup that we have currently. We have a 1-gate expansion with the Robo. Now, this has become more and more popular. The game that I can most think of was actually done by SKT1's Reign versus STX Soul's Cure, where they had a similar situation to what Virium did. They both went for an expansion. Now there's a safer version and a more dangerous version. Virium went with the more dangerous version. He went Nexus then Robo versus going Robo then Nexus. You can obviously see why it'd be more dangerous. Going Robo first allows for more production.
Oh, I was going to try and interrupt you before it wore off, but I just want to point out, if you guys didn't see me waving my mouse around like a magic wand, the time warp on the mineral line from Karmy, a cute little move, but really, it doesn't affect it. As we saw, the income difference of like 40 minerals per second. It's not a big deal to get in and do that, but in Protoss, like, this is the one exception, because every mineral counts. Suddenly, that's one less Zealot that's going to be on the field because Karmy threw down the time warp. And he is coming in here with a blink all in, and this is going to be... not impossible to hold off. He's got the Immortal already coming out, but this natural is going to be in some trouble.
Yeah, and especially as we do see this push in, as you brought up, it does matter in this matchup as with the fact that it's an aggressive build versus an economically focused build. So he will have less units to defend with, and it was great that you brought up how it's different in PvP.
Blink gonna come up here in just a second. We see a Blink on the high ground to get around that Photon Overcharge, but there is another one. Oh, not quite ready actually. The Mothership Core just barely doesn't have enough. But oh, actually, Karmy going back into the natural. Very bold. Can't
Very
just blink.
bold. Is that Stalker gonna die? Oh,
what?
He didn't blink
Nope.
it. He didn't show it. He doesn't want to show it right now. But it seems
There's
that they
the
already
blink.
know. There's the blink. 2 Immortals are out though, and they've begun doing work on these Stalkers.
Oh, but it's the
3
Zealots that
Stalkers are down.
The Sentries and the Zealots are going to zone these guys out. They will be forced to blink down to the low ground, but I mean, really, Karmy losing a lot of Stalkers for 1 Immortal. Not a too effective trade.
No, not at all. We do see them now. He's coming back into the natural, but it's just not going to do the work he wants as the
Photon Overcharge. Yeah.
Overcharge has come down. We do see a second Immortal out.
But now the Mothership Core has been picked off here for Karmy. Karmy can't get up on that high ground. He really needed an Observer or a Mothership Core, and now he can no longer abuse his Blink.
And you know it'd be cool to see out of Virium, to see Virium warp in from the proxy pylon he positioned at the 4th.
You might not need to. Look at this. He's actually... The Zealots are taking on the Stalkers. This is not something that should be allowed to connect without force fields, but it is nonetheless. Karmy losing that forward pylon. GG is called.
GG. Wow, what a quick game, but Virium showing good positioning and a good use of Photon Charge allows for an easy hold of that build.
Yeah, it's Mothership Cores, everything, but... Hope you guys enjoyed the game. Wow, can't speak there.
I'm like, yo, Rifkin, it's gonna be a terrible cast. Proceeds to mess up purple. Rifkin can't talk for the rest of the game.